Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction created for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real persons, living or dead, or real events is purely coincidental. The story contains emotional and sensitive themes that may not be suitable for all audiences. Reader discretion is advised. It was one of those evenings when everything seemed to weigh heavily on my shoulders. The stress of work, the strain of relationships, and an unshakable feeling of loneliness wrapped around me like a thick fog. I had been avoiding the idea of self-care for weeks, convincing myself that there wasn't time or that it wouldn't help. But when my close friend Sarah called me out of the blue and insisted I come over for a massage session, something inside me relented. Maybe it was the exhaustion or the desperate hope for relief, but I agreed. The massage wasn't just any casual offer. Sarah knew about the turmoil I'd been going through, the arguments with my partner, the mounting pressure at my job, and my constant battle with anxiety. She promised it would help, that the calming environment and the soothing touch would give me a moment of peace. I remember arriving at her softly lit living room, the scent of lavender candles filling the air, and a quiet playlist humming in the background. The atmosphere was warm, inviting, almost like a safe haven from the chaos outside. Yet, beneath the calm, an uneasy tension lingered. I felt exposed in a way I hadn't expected. This wasn't just about muscles and knots, it was about my heart and mind unraveling under quiet scrutiny. Sarah's hands were gentle but purposeful as she began the massage. I closed my eyes, focusing on the sensations, willing myself to relax, but the turmoil inside me refused to quiet down. The massage chair creaked softly under me, and I noticed Sarah's subtle glances, her eyes searching mine as if trying to read what I wouldn't say aloud. Something in her demeanor suggested that this evening was more than just about physical comfort. I wondered if she was about to say something, a confession, or an unspoken truth, but I was too anxious to ask. As her hands moved slowly over my shoulders, I realized that this massage might be the catalyst I needed, not only to soothe my aching muscles, but to confront the emotional weight I'd been carrying for far too long. Little did I know, this night would reveal far more than just my physical tension. It would unravel truths that had been buried beneath layers of silence and denial. And so, with a mixture of hope and apprehension, I surrendered to the moment, unaware that this simple massage was about to change everything. As Sarah's hands moved rhythmically across my back, a wave of physical relaxation slowly began to wash over me. The knots in my muscles eased, and my breathing deepened. Yet, beneath this physical calm, an unsettling restlessness stirred inside me, like a quiet storm brewing beneath still waters. I kept my eyes closed, trying to focus only on the soothing touch, but memories and feelings I had long buried began to creep back into my mind. Each gentle press of Sarah's palms seemed to unearth fragments of moments I had been avoiding, the arguments with my partner, the silent dinners heavy with tension, and the growing distance I felt from the people I loved. The massage room, bathed in soft candlelight and the faint scent of jasmine, felt like a fragile bubble separating me from reality, but even here, the truth wasn't far behind. Sarah's presence was calming, but I noticed the subtle way her fingers lingered a moment longer on certain spots, as if searching for more than just muscle tension. I wondered if she felt what I was feeling, the weight of unspoken words hanging between us. She had always been a good listener, someone I trusted with my secrets. But tonight, I sensed she had something of her own to share. The music played softly in the background, but my mind was louder. I kept replaying the moments that had led me here, how I had been pretending everything was fine while inside I was breaking. The massage, meant to be a relief, was instead stirring emotions I wasn't ready to face. Tears threatened to spill, but I fought them back, not wanting to lose control. Then, unexpectedly, Sarah's voice broke the silence. Quiet and steady, she began to speak, not about the massage or the stress, but about something deeply personal. Her words were hesitant at first, like a fragile confession forced out by years of silence. She told me about a painful secret she had carried for a long time, something that involved both of us in ways I hadn't imagined. Her confession shook the quiet space between us. The softness of her voice contrasted with the weight of her words. I felt the room shift, the safe bubble I had retreated into suddenly fragile, vulnerable. The massage was no longer just about relaxation. It had become the moment where hidden truths started to surface. As she spoke, I realized this evening was not simply about healing my body, but opening the door to the emotional storm I had been too scared to face. The calm before the storm was over. What came next would change everything. Sarah's words hung heavily in the air, catching me completely off guard. I had come expecting a simple massage, a quiet evening of comfort, but instead, she was revealing a truth I never saw coming. Her voice trembled slightly as she shared something she had kept locked away for years, a confession so raw and personal that it shattered the fragile peace between us. She told me about a mistake she had made, one that involved deception and regret. The details spilled out slowly, like a river breaking through a dam, an affair, a betrayal that had haunted her conscience. What made it even more painful was that the person she had hurt was someone very close to both of us. I sat there, stunned, as her voice cracked under the weight of her remorse. Her eyes searched mine, looking for a reaction, forgiveness, or perhaps just understanding. I was numb, my heart pounding, the massage that had soothed my muscles now feeling like a cruel reminder of the emotional pain that I couldn't escape. I wanted to ask questions, to demand explanations, but the words stuck in my throat. The room felt smaller, the candlelight flickering as if uncertain of the fragile atmosphere it illuminated. I wanted to retreat, to push her words away and cling to the comfortable ignorance I had lived in. But something held me back. The honesty in her confession, the vulnerability she showed, made it impossible to turn away. It was as if the massage had stripped away more than just tension in my body. It had peeled back the layers of pretense between us. I realized that beneath her trembling admission was a plea, not just for forgiveness, but for a chance at redemption. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. The massage, once a symbol of comfort, had become the turning point in our relationship. Whatever happened next would define us, and I knew the path ahead would be anything but easy. Sarah's confession opened a door that had long been sealed shut. As the massage continued, the physical touch that once soothed my muscles now felt like a mirror reflecting the raw emotions between us. With her voice still shaky but determined, she began to reveal the deeper layers of the story, explaining not just the betrayal, but the reasons behind it, the moments of weakness, and the heavy burden she had carried alone. She spoke about loneliness, misunderstanding, and unmet needs that had crept quietly into her life. How she had felt isolated, unheard, and desperate for connection. The affair was not just a lapse in judgment, but a symptom of the pain and confusion that had built up inside her. Hearing this, I felt the sharp edges of anger soften, replaced by a complicated swirl of empathy and sorrow. As she talked, memories I had overlooked resurfaced, the times when she seemed distant, when our conversations faltered, and when the warmth between us cooled. The massage room felt charged with this mix of regret and revelation. It was as if every touch was loosening the chains that had bound us in silence. I realized this moment was bigger than just a confession. It was a reckoning. The truth wasn't easy or clean, but it was honest. It shattered illusions, but also laid the foundation for something new, fragile though it might be. Tears welled up in both our eyes as the emotional weight settled between us. The massage, which had started as a simple act of care, had become a vehicle for healing, painful but necessary. It forced us to face realities that had been buried beneath layers of denial and fear. For the first time in a long while, we were truly open with each other, raw, vulnerable, and real. The truth had been revealed, and though it hurt, it also offered a strange kind of freedom. The moment the truth fully sank in, my emotions erupted like a dam breaking. The weight of everything I had just heard crashed over me, leaving me breathless and trembling. I had tried to hold it together, but now tears spilled freely down my cheeks, mixing with the gentle glow of candlelight in the room. The massage, once a source of comfort, had turned into an emotional battleground where vulnerability and pain collided. Sarah reached out to steady me, her own eyes glistening with tears. The rawness of her confession had opened a floodgate not just for her, but for me as well. I found myself confessing the fears and frustrations I had hidden deep inside, The loneliness I felt despite being surrounded by people, the silent pain of feeling disconnected, and the anger I had been bottling up without realizing it. In that quiet room, under the tender weight of her touch and the flicker of the candles, we both let go of our carefully built walls. The massage had stripped away more than just physical tension. It had peeled back the layers of shame, regret, and unspoken feelings that had kept us apart. Our words came out in fits and starts, sometimes halting, sometimes urgent, but always honest. The emotional release was overwhelming yet strangely liberating. For the first time in a long time, we were truly seeing each other, not just as flawed human beings who made mistakes, but as people yearning for understanding and connection. The room held our shared grief and hope, an intimate space where healing began. Though the pain was raw and the future uncertain, this moment marked a turning point. The massage had become more than therapy for the body. It was a balm for the soul, a moment where broken pieces began to mend through tears, confessions, and the fragile power of forgiveness. After the tears slowed and our breathing steadied, the room settled into a fragile stillness. Sarah's hands, which had paused during my breakdown, now resumed their gentle movements, not to distract me, but to offer a quiet reassurance. Her voice was low, almost trembling, as she asked the question I had sensed was coming all along. "Can you ever forgive me?" she whispered. It wasn't just a request, it was a plea, raw and unguarded. I could hear the years of guilt woven into her tone, the weight of knowing that one choice had changed everything between us. She didn't try to justify herself anymore. Instead, she spoke of how the guilt had shadowed every moment since, how she had replayed that night in her mind over and over, wishing she could undo it. I stayed silent at first, unsure how to answer. My mind was a swirl of emotions. Anger still flickered, hurt lingered, but underneath it all was a thread of empathy. I could see that she wasn't the same person who had made that mistake. She had carried the pain with her, and it had changed her. "I don't know if I can," I admitted, my voice trembling. "But I can try." Her eyes filled with fresh tears, but this time they were mixed with relief. She didn't ask for more than that. She knew forgiveness wasn't instant. It was a slow, uneven path. What mattered was that I wasn't closing the door completely. The massage continued, slower now, more like a careful holding than a treatment. Each touch felt intentional, almost like an unspoken apology. The air between us was still heavy, but it wasn't suffocating anymore. There was space for healing, space for rebuilding, space for something new to grow. In that moment, I realized that seeking forgiveness was as much about freeing herself as it was about freeing me. And maybe, just maybe, we could both find a way to let the past stop hurting so much. As the massage session moved toward its end, a quiet transformation took place within me. The heavy fog of anger and confusion began to lift, replaced by a newfound clarity. Listening to Sarah's words and feeling her sincere remorse, I started to see the situation from a perspective I hadn't allowed myself to consider before. It wasn't about excusing the betrayal, but understanding the human vulnerabilities behind it, the loneliness, the unmet needs, the moments of weakness. We are all flawed, after all, and sometimes those flaws lead us down painful paths. This realization didn't erase the hurt, but it softened its edge. In the gentle warmth of the room, with the lingering scent of lavender and the fading melody in the background, I found empathy growing where resentment once ruled. The massage had become more than physical healing, it was emotional restoration. Each touch seemed to rebuild trust in small, delicate ways. I looked at Sarah, no longer just as the person who had betrayed me, but as someone deeply human, someone deserving of compassion, as much as I hoped to receive it myself someday. The emotional walls I had built began to crumble, allowing space for dialogue, for questions, and for hope. We spoke quietly about moving forward, about the work we both needed to do individually and together. It wasn't a promise of immediate reconciliation, but a commitment to honesty and patience. The road ahead would be long and uncertain, but the first step had been taken here, in this room, during this massage. For the first time in months, I felt a flicker of peace. The truth had been painful, but it had also been freeing. And with that freedom came the possibility of healing, not just of our relationship, but of ourselves. The massage session finally came to an end, but the emotional journey it sparked was only beginning. As Sarah helped me sit up and guided me toward the warmth of a soft blanket, I felt a profound shift within myself. The weight of secrets, pain, and unspoken words had been lifted, leaving a strange but welcome emptiness, a space ready to be filled with something new. We sat together quietly, the flickering candlelight casting soft shadows on the walls. Neither of us rushed to fill the silence. Instead, we let the moment linger, knowing that this night had changed us both. The massage had done more than soothe tired muscles. It had peeled back layers of denial and fear, revealing a path toward healing. I realized that moving forward wouldn't be simple or quick. There would be days filled with doubt, frustration, and lingering pain. But now there was also hope, a fragile, precious hope born from truth and vulnerability. The emotional confession Sarah had shared was a turning point, a bridge between the past we couldn't change and the future we could choose to build. As I looked at her, I saw not just the friend who had betrayed me, but the person who had courageously faced her mistakes and sought forgiveness. And within myself, I discovered a strength I hadn't known I possessed, the willingness to forgive, to understand, and to try again. The massage had revealed the truth, but more importantly, it revealed the possibility of healing. Whatever came next, I knew I wouldn't face it alone. We had taken the first step together, and that made all the difference. With a deep breath, I embraced the uncertainty ahead, ready to face it with an open heart and a clearer mind. 7.